When we think about the Force in Star Wars, we usually imagine as a power that flows through living beings, something experienced during life and lingering only through memory after death. Yet throughout the films, animated series, novels, and even behind the scenes commentary, one thing keeps resurfacing. We're meant to believe that death in Star Wars is not simply an ending, it's a transformation. And when you examine how Force ghosts actually behave, what they can do, and what the official Star Wars universe has already shown us, it becomes surprisingly logical, even inevitable, that a Force spirit could one day return to physical existence. Today I'm going to argue not simply that it's possible, but that Star Wars has been setting up this idea for decades. George Lucas has always said Star Wars is mythology, and in classical myth, Greek, Roman, Norse, Buddhist, death is often the beginning of hero transformation, not just an ending. Think of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. Think of Obi-Wan himself talking to Darth Vader. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. More powerful, not less. That sentence changes everything. Obi-Wan didn't say he would disappear into memory. He said he would become more powerful. And what has that meant? He could guide Luke, teach him, influence him, speak to him, appear visually, and provide direction. And if power grows after death, why would that expansion stop at simply appearing? Why wouldn't it eventually allow full manifestation? Most casual fans think Force ghosts can only appear and talk, but we already have multiple examples of ghosts affecting reality. Obi-Wan physically sits on a tree trunk in Dagobah. He's not floating like a hologram, he sits. It's physical interaction. Yoda sets a tree on fire in The Last Jedi. That's direct manipulation of matter. He summons lightning, something physical, tangible, destructive. And it's not, oh, it's just lightning. That was an intentional moment written to establish a possibility. If a Force ghost can affect reality physically, then the barrier between life and death is not locked. It's thin, porous, and permeable. Remember Revenge of the Sith? Palpatine's entire seduction of Anakin hinges on the power to cheat death. But here's what most fans miss. This isn't just hinting at Sith immortality, it's also implying Jedi immortality. Sidious learned incomplete versions of ancient dark side resurrection practices. He alludes to Darth Plagueis saving people from death. But what did the Jedi learn? A better version, a peaceful version, a luminous version. Yoda trains with Qui-Gon Jinn's spirit to learn how to preserve consciousness after death. That implies evolution and advancement. The Jedi perfected eternal existence in a way the Sith were never able to. So if the Sith were trying to stop death and Jedi actually surpassed them, then what is the next logical step? Returning. Let's clarify the biggest misunderstanding right now. A Force ghost is not the memory of a person, not a ghost, not a hologram, not an illusion. It's the consciousness, identity, and will of a fully aware Force user continuing existence in a non-physical state. They have identity. They learn, they speak, they think, they evolve, they teach, they have personality, they have personal continuity. And that brings us to the key argument. If they're still alive in consciousness, then they're not dead in the way death normally works. Star Wars death is more like changing states, like going from solid to gas to light. Different form, same existence. That is absolutely a returnable condition. Even before the Disney canon reset, the old expanded universe repeatedly explored physical return. Darth Nihilus devouring life energy, Palpatine transferring his spirit into clone bodies, ancient Sith rituals, Jedi transferring consciousness, bodies remanifesting. These weren't fringe ideas, they were constant themes. So if Star Wars mythology keeps circling resurrection, why would we assume Force ghosts are stuck permanently? In Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan says, I can no longer interfere. Notice something, he didn't say, I'm physically incapable. He said, I won't. That's a choice, not a limitation. Yoda doesn't burn the tree just to show off, he burns it to show Force ghosts affect matter, they interact with weather, they manipulate energy, they directly move objects without hosts. If he can summon lightning, is it really such a stretch that he could eventually summon a body? Lightning is energy, matter is simply energy slowed down. Everything in Star Wars comes down to the Force, and the Force is life energy itself. In Rise of Skywalker, all those voices, they flow through her, and she rises again, not metaphorically, literally. The Force ghosts return her to life. That is resurrection. They already did it. Maybe not for themselves, but they clearly can channel life energy into the physical world. So why assume they can only resurrect someone else but not themselves? Star Wars teaches that consciousness joins the cosmic force after death and then returns, not just as force energy, but reborn into new life. Force ghosts already broke that cycle by choosing not to reincarnate automatically. So if they can, preserve identity, manifest visually, interact physically, return energy into bodies, then logically speaking, choosing to re-enter physical existence is simply the next evolution of their training. George Lucas based the Jedi after Buddhist monks. In Buddhist tradition, enlightened souls reincarnate or return intentionally, sometimes immediately, sometimes centuries later, sometimes in chosen forms. Force ghosts are already canonically enlightened beings, so from a mythological perspective, returning to physical life is not only possible, it is expected. Because narratively, the saga has never needed a Jedi to return in body form, the story focused on Anakin. But now the future stories will need powerful mentors, ancient knowledge, and huge stakes. It's the perfect time. Imagine a future trilogy where Rey is in danger, the galaxy is collapsing, and Obi-Wan or Luke rematerializes. Not permanently, not casually, but in a moment of cosmic importance, and steps onto the stage again. Tell me that wouldn't shake Star Wars fans to their core. Palpatine came back physically, we accepted that, and Palpatine is a less powerful version of manipulating life force. So Palpatine can return, but Obi-Wan and Yoda cannot. That feels logically backwards. The Sith cheat death, the Jedi embrace it. Which one would the universe reward? Force ghosts are not trapped, they're enlightened, powerful, more complete than they ever were in life. They can interact with reality, they can manifest energy, they can resurrect others, they have preserved identity, and they choose not to interfere. That's the key word, choose. Not can't, but won't. The difference is enormous. Force ghosts absolutely have the potential to return to life. Everything in Star Wars mythology, films, lore, philosophy, and metaphysics points toward death being an evolution, not a limit. The moment a Jedi chooses to re-enter physical form isn't a question of if, but when. And when that happens, it will be the most mythological, spiritually powerful, and awe-inspiring thing Star Wars has ever done. Because in Star Wars, no one who becomes one with the Force is truly gone. They're just waiting for the right moment to return. May the Force be with you always.